Wheeler in question, the Shenzhou or whatever it is, but it's a 250cc little four-wheeler. It needs a little bit of TLC, but I feel like this is something that'll be doable, and it'd be a good restoration project for me to do along with my stepson, so that way we can hang out and do some stuff as well, and it'll get us back in the woods so we can go find us some critters a little bit further out there. But nevertheless, we're gonna get started. And I think the first thing we're gonna do is pop the wheels off. We're gonna make sure we change out the valve stems and the wheels down here, because we do need to put some air in them. We'll see if they got inner tubes in them and figure out kind of what we're working with. And then we'll spray paint them, get them back cleaned up, and then we'll work on something else. And over the next couple weeks, you'll see this thing get transformed. So a little bit by little, we'll get it on together, because I've got the lawnmower, so we'll move on with this. So while we're getting started, some of the things to make things a little bit easier, I grabbed a couple tools. One, we're gonna be using a jack stand. I mean, it don't really matter where you get them from, but a jack stand would be crucial. With four-wheelers, they're not super duper heavy, so this one I can probably pick up. And I'm just gonna sit on the jack stand so we can get this tire off the ground a little bit and be able to work with it. All right, easy peasy. Now we got that kind of off the ground. We can get our impact and we can get us some sockets. Get this thing off. Should be something like this. Yeah, see, that'll work. All right, so with any good project, guys, you gotta have some tools and things. And me, I like to use Harbor Freight for a lot of the things that I work on. So Harbor Freight, if you don't know, is a pretty good supplier of tools. They may not sell the most high quality of tools, but they'll sell you something to get you working on it. Good hobbyist place, I would say. I've gotten a lot of good stuff from them. Just like this Bauer brand, with the impact with the battery. Good stuff, man. Bust them lug nuts loose on this thing like it ain't nothing. A little rusted too, so hopefully we don't break a stud. Mess around with these. Look at that. Got the tire off, and with a tire off we can inspect a couple things, see kind of like what's really behind here, because we got to really clean all this out anyway, because we got some brake lines. Looks like it goes down here to a caliper, to something that rotates this assembly here. This thing's not four-wheel drive, which if you don't know, a lot of your four-wheelers aren't four-wheel drive. Well, you can get them in four-wheel drive, but some are two-wheel drive like this one. So all the power is just gonna be going straight to the rear wheel. So this just does a lot of steering. So this is just gonna be a hub assembly piece with probably some little drum shoes in the middle, I'm assuming. But let's see about getting some more tools. We'll get this tire popped off and make sure we get something to put our lug nuts in so we don't lose them. So moving down here, guys, we will see about getting the rim and tire separated. So for this, you're gonna need to have what is called a tire spoon of some sort. So that way you can get these rims off the tires, because we need to actually paint these rims. Well, we may not actually need to paint them. We might just paint them after we pop them back on here. I think that's what we're gonna do. So I don't necessarily, well, I guess I need to change the valve stem. So yeah, we need to pop, okay. All right, guys, so Moving down here, we got to do one thing. We got to get the tire off of the rim here. So to do that, we use what's called a tire spoon, and that helps separate your rim from your tire. And you just kind of got to get it down in the lip here. And they sell multiple different ones too, so having two of them helps you to get it because you kind of want to work it. These little small tires can be kind of a pain to kind of work off. But slowly but surely, the old tire will come off the old rim here. Well, so moving on down here, I just want to show you guys a little bit what we're going to be doing. We want to go ahead and replace this valve stem and put us in something different. So I want to take a look at where this valve stem is located at and see if I can't get it without having to take this whole tire off, because we're going to try to keep these tires for a little bit longer until we have to replace these, because we don't even know if this four-wheeler runs yet or not. So let me go grab my tire stems, and these should work, because we're definitely going to replace the ones on the front with some new metal ones. And I don't know, I particularly like these. They're not bad. Normally, I just break them off because they'll come off pretty easy, just kind of like that. So, no big deal. Got that out. Because they're more than likely going to leak, especially with an older tire like this. You just kind of want to do that, because I was going to take the tire off the rim, kind of show you guys how to do that, but it really ain't necessary. But what we'll do with this is a snap-in tire valve. They call it, not snap-in, but it's just a tire valve that you can replace with a lot of different things, from your small tires, big ones. This one comes with a couple washers and a couple nuts, and then it's got one that you can put on the other side. And so luckily, we could get to this one pretty easy. We should just be able to slide this new valve stem in like that. And then we can put our sealing piece here like so. Put our flange here. Boom. Sometimes you may have a little issue kind of getting this thing to seat down in there, but you definitely want to get that on there, because that really helps to seal this thing in my opinion. There we go. And we got it started, a couple threads, and then we can tighten that guy on up. We'll be Gucci. So next up, which I would not recommend to do, is try to reseal and reset your tire back onto your rim. To do this, a lot of things you can do. Try to fill it up with air one way, or you could try to do what I'm about to do, a little bit more fun way, but also a little more dangerous. So I think I need some safety glasses for all this, just to be on the safe side in case we blow ourselves up. So YouTube don't demonetize me for this, but this is what you got to do. So get your can of good old starting fluid or ether, kind of want to be, you don't really want to do a lot of that stuff. That stuff is pretty fucking flammable. Whoa! Whoa! And just like that, our tire is on the rim. Always gets me every time, man. But you see that the tire kind of sunk in on itself. That's because whenever you set the fire to it, the fire goes inside the tire and it's burning up all the oxygen inside the tire. So you kind of need to wait. Make sure but I think we do have a little bit of a leak in the tire, so let's see what we can do. I'm gonna grab my air compressor. We'll pop some air in there real quick and see what happens. So don't mind the noise, but see if this thing will take some air. We probably don't need to fill this thing up all the way, just because, you know, being an old tire, it hasn't really been inflated for a while, so we probably just need to kind of let it stretch out and get back to its normal shape for a little while. So, it seems like it's getting some air in it and holding, so that's good. And we need to check and see what the max rating, and that's another thing, guys. Each tire always has that written on it somewhere. And this says 20 PSI max. So let me get my handy dandy tire gauge over here just to kind of gauge and see where we're at. Nothing. So we definitely need to put some more air in it. And you always want to check as you're going. This thing still ain't got no air in it. That's crazy. It's not registering any air, at least. Cool. We got about almost 10 PSI. That's all we're gonna really pump it up to is 10. And we're gonna let it kind of sit there where it's at. We'll see if this thing will hold some air in it, and then we'll pump it up the rest of the way once we kind of gauge where we're at with that. So to paint this thing, what we're going to do is I have a couple of strips to help get this thing ready for painting. And I'm gonna probably tape off a couple things. This is just kind of like a Scotch-Brite pad. This is just to kind of help level everything out a little bit. Make sure we're getting some good flat spots, and we'll knock off anything that's not real stuck on there. This would be real good for a good paint job on these things, because this is a pretty good paint that I'm using that fills in for gaps and cracks and things. So we should be good. Now the inside is what I was more worried about here. See, this is why it's important. You can see all that stuff, we gotta get all this out. Because the paint is not gonna stick to that. Good stuff, good stuff. And with these tires, I'm probably just gonna do one of them at a time, so that way I can kind of show you guys like step-by-step process of what we're gonna go through to really get this thing up and going. Because after I get these things painted, I might even wash them first. I'll give them a good washing first, pressure washing, or at least a rinse off here, and then we'll go from there. So that thing is good and scraped and scrubbed out. Seems to be holding air. Look at that. Good stuff. So we got our tire pumped up. We got it all cleaned off on both sides with our angle grinder, and I used a little bit of a rust remover wheel. And what I had an ingenious idea of doing, which I'm sure somebody's probably done before, to paint this thing, instead of using a whole bunch of tape, why don't we just put this little tire in a freaking trash bag here, if I can get it all the way around in here, because it should fit. What if I do that? I'll bring it back over here a little bit. Only thing we care about is a little bit of rim space here. And I think that we can make that work. I think that we can fold this thing just right. Get it to sit. Just good enough so we can paint this thing. So what we're going to be using today is the Krylon Fusion all-in-one paint and primer. Pretty good paint. So I like to use this thing for a lot of different stuff. So this whole ain't gonna be super perfect. So it's gonna be one of our first major resto jobs. So it'd be pretty cool if we get it pretty good, but you know, it ain't gotta be perfect. But these rims definitely need some paint on them for sure. And I think what I'm gonna do is we will paint one side and we'll just go side to side with it. We'll make sure we shake this can up real good. And just like that, guys, paint it. Which I might go get the tape this time, because this was not as good as I hoped it would go, but you know, trial and error. Trial and error. So we're gonna set this one off to the side and then we'll move on to another one. But that's pretty much gonna be the process. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of them done, and then we'll get them back on the four-wheeler, and then we'll show you what they look like after they get done. But I think it's gonna be a pretty awesome looking color for these rims. All right guys, so on another note, I did get the tires back on the rims, but I used the starting fluid and there happened to be a little bit of a defect in the tire, so that thing blew out. So we do got one tire that's good, so I'll go and get that mounted back on after I soak these guys in a little bit of vinegar, and I'll get them out in the morning and put that thing back on. But that ends the video for this week's update on the four-wheeler, so we'll go ahead, call it a day guys. See you on the next episode.